Today we are going to start our lesson. While we do our lesson, I expect you guys to sit nice and tall for me, put on your thinking caps. You know, while we do our lesson, we always make sure we're ready to listen, ready to learn, and eyes on me, okay?
Okay.
All right, so who here has seen the movie Chicken Little? Great, so we know that Chicken Little has a problem in his story. What is Chicken Little's problem? Who knows? Gio.
Chicken Little thinks the sky is falling.
That's right, Chicken Little does think the sky is falling. Absolutely. And what does he do when the sky is falling? How does he try to solve his problem? Nicole?
He tells everyone.
He tells everyone that the sky is falling, that's right. And no one listens to him. So that's another problem. He goes and he tries to do everything he can to make sure that they realize his problem. Okay? So now that leads us into what we're going to be learning today. Today we are going to be learning about character response. That is, we're going to learn about what a character does when something happens in the story. But before we start, who can tell me what 3 things need to be in a story? Nicole.
The beginning, middle, and end of it.
That's right. There needs to be a beginning, middle, and end of it. So that means we're going to tie in together where exactly does our challenge, our problem that our character faces, happens in our story, as well as seeing when and how they fix it, okay? So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to look at this sheet over here, right? This is our character response sheet. Gio, can you read that first sentence nice and loud? What is character response?
Character response. What the character does because of an event that happens in the story.
That's right. It's something that the character does when something happens. So it's, did they get angry? Did they get upset? Or they are angry and upset. Now what's going to happen? We have to see what exactly they're going to do to fix the problem. So 2 key words that we're going to have to focus on is challenge. Here it says a challenge is something that causes problems for the character. What are some things that might be considered a challenge? Who can tell me? What's something that could be a challenge? Nicole?
I want to use an example, like if someone's really short and can't reach a bag of Oreos.
That's right. So if someone isn't tall enough to reach Oreos, so here we'll write reach Oreos, okay. What else could be a problem or a challenge that someone faces? One more, let's find one more. Gio.
If someone isn't athletic and they want to play basketball.
Okay, so a challenge is wanting to play basketball but they can't, okay. Great job. So now our next one is a response. It says the response is what action the character does because of it. So let's look at our challenges here. Someone that isn't tall enough to reach the Oreos. What can be the response? Gio?
They grab a step stool.
They can grab a step stool, that's right. So right over here, our solution can be to grab a step stool. All right, so let's look at our other one. Play basketball. What could be the response there that someone can do? Nicole?
They can practice very hard.
Absolutely. They have to practice as hard as they can, right? They have to practice until they get better. So now we're going to go ahead and we're going to read this story and then we're going to answer the questions on the bottom. And once we read it and get to the questions, we're going to go back to the story and we're going to highlight where we got that answer and write the number of the question next to that answer, okay? All right, so our story is called Piñata Problems. It says, Carlo watched his cousins take a whack at the birthday piñata. They all swung with speed and strength. Carlos had never tried hitting a piñata before. He was feeling very anxious about it. He thought that if he missed the piñata, all his cousins would laugh at him. It was Carlos's turn and he almost didn't take it. At the last minute, he took the bat and walked up to the piñata. Carlos completely missed the piñata on his first try. He waited for his cousins to laugh at him, but they just cheered him on. On the second swing, he cracked the piñata open. All right, question number 1. Who can help me? It says, identify the character and setting of the story. Gio.
The character of the story is Carlos.
Okay, so here we have that the character is Carlos. And how do we know that it's Carlos?
In the beginning, the first sentence, Carlos watched his cousins take a whack at the birthday piñata.
Awesome. So here we have, so you're going to grab your pencil or to underline it or your highlighter, and you're going to highlight Carlos and his cousins. Watch his cousins take a whack at the piñata. And then you're going to go ahead and you're going to put a number 1 next to that because what question was it about?
Number 1.
All right, and now there's a second part to this, the setting. What do we know about the setting? Where does it take place? Nicole?
It takes place at a birthday party.
At a birthday party. But let's see, does their story ever say anything about a birthday party?
Yeah.
No, so how do we know it's a birthday party?
Because in the first sentence it says, Carlos watched his cousins take a whack at the birthday piñata, so it must be at a birthday party.
That's right, because if it's a birthday piñata, it needs to take place at a birthday. All right, so here we're going to put birthday party. We're writing this quickly here. You guys would make sure when you do one that you guys write in full sentences, okay?
Okay.
So what is the character's problem? Who knows? Nicole?
He's afraid that his cousins are gonna laugh at him because he's gonna miss the piñata.
Okay, can you tell me what sentence helps you think of that?
It says in the second sentence, Carlos had never tried hitting a piñata before and he was feeling very anxious about it.
Awesome, so you're gonna go ahead and you're gonna underline the sentence that talks about that he was feeling very anxious about it. So down here, what would we write? That he was feeling
Anxious or scary.
He was feeling anxious or scared. So right here, to make it easier, we're just going to write anxious and scared. All right. So let's see. The bottom question says, describe how the character solved his problem. How did he solve it, Gio?
When it was his turn at the last minute, he took the bat and walked up to the piñata.
Awesome. So we're going to write here that he went ahead and he took the bat anyway, and he took a swing at the piñata. So we're going to write, he took the bat and swung the piñata. All right, and we would go to what sentence, Gio, to find our evidence, our key details?
At the last minute, he took the bat and walked up to the piñata.
That's right, because at first he was feeling scared. Did you think he wanted to do it?
No.
No, he didn't. That's right. But he went and he did it anyway. So you see, we took our story. We found out who our characters are and where it took place. We found our problem, and then we found the solution for it. So now I'm going to give you your own story with your own 3 questions, and you guys are going to have to do exactly what we did here. You're going to read your story on your own. You're going to answer your questions, go back, underline your questions where you guys found the answers because those are your key details to show proof. And then you're going to write the number of the question next to it so we know which number you got it for. Okay? So you guys are going to be reading First Time in New York City. Here's your other copy. All right. So now they would go ahead and they would have their time to do their I do, but we're going to go ahead and jump into review. All right, so our first time in New York City trip was about the Johnson family who went on and took a trip to New York, right? And throughout the story, we know that Mrs. Johnson wanted to buy a map to go on the trip, but Mr. Johnson didn't. So they spent their time in New York City without a map trying to find Times Square. and the story said that they were lost. And then in the end, Mrs. Johnson ran into the store, bought the map, and went ahead and then they found their way. So Nicole, read question number 1 for me.
Identify the character and setting on the story.
All right, could you identify the characters and settings of the story for me?
Yeah, the Johnson family, and it takes place in New York City.
It's the Johnson family, and they take place in New York City. Mr. Gio, can you please tell me what sentence would we know tells us that answer?
The first and second sentence. The Johnson family always traveled to the beach during the summers. Lets me know that it's the Johnson family. And this summer they decided to travel to a big city called New York. Lets me know where the setting was.
Awesome job. Gio, can you please go ahead and read question number 2 for us?
Question 2. What is the character's problem?
So who knows what the character's problem is? Who can tell me what they wrote down? Nicole?
The character's problem is that they got lost in the big city and they were trying to find their way to Central Park.
They did get lost in the big city. But Gio, can you fill that in? There's one part we're missing there. Why were they lost?
Because they didn't have a map. Mr. Johnson said they would be able to find their way without it.
Awesome. And what sentence tells us that? Nicole. Here, Nicole, you can use this one for now.
It says Mr. Johnson said they would be able to find their way around without one. And that's the 4th sentence and the 5th one.
Awesome. Great job. Nicole, go ahead and read question number 3 for me.
Question 3. Describe how the characters solve their problem.
All right, Gio, how did the characters solve their problem?
Miss Johnson went into the store and she purchased a map.
She did purchase a map. That's right. And what sentence tells us that in our story?
She ran into the store and came out with a map.
She ran into the store and she came out with the map. Great job. So those are the sentences you should have underlined. Thank you so much. So now that wraps up our lesson on character responses, right? So let's quickly go over again everything that we learned today. So who can tell me what a challenge is? Nicole?
A challenge is something like you go through, like you try to solve it.
That's right. So a challenge is something that you go through. It could be an event that happens to someone in the story. Gio, and what is a response?
It's an action the character does because of the challenge.
That's right. So when we talked about our challenges, right? Our challenges always had a what?
Solution.
A solution. That's right. And whenever we read a story, we're always going to see that there's going to be a solution. Does anyone have any questions about what we learned today?
No.
Awesome. Thank you guys for sitting for my class.